Survivors of narcissistic mental abuse often find themselves navigating a minefield of triggers where seemingly innocuous phrases can unleash a torrent of painful memories and emotions. These triggers serve as stark reminders of the psychological wounds inflicted by manipulative and controlling individuals. Here are 7 phrases that have the power to evoke trauma in those who have endured narcissistic abuse. The first trigger phrase, "You're crazy." Hey, have you ever noticed how certain words can feel like a punch in the gut for some people? Well, for those who've been through narcissistic abuse, certain phrases can bring back a flood of painful memories. Take "you're crazy," for instance. Seems like just a mean insult, right? But for someone who's been manipulated and torn down, it's like being stabbed in the heart. It's more than just name-calling. It's a way to chip away at their self-worth and sanity. Imagine feeling like you're losing your mind and someone comes along and confirms it. It's enough to make anyone doubt themselves. And you know what's even worse? It's how it reinforces the idea that they're fundamentally flawed or unstable. It's like their abuser's voice is still echoing in their head, telling them they're not good enough. But here's the thing, they're not crazy and they're not alone. It's just another cruel tactic to keep them under their abuser's control. And until they can break free from that cycle, they'll continue to feel like they're drowning in self-doubt and insecurity. Next, "you're too sensitive." Have you ever noticed how some words can cut deeper than others? Well, for those who've survived narcissistic abuse, specific phrases can feel like a stab to the heart. Take "you're too sensitive," for example. Seems harmless, right? But for someone who's been through the emotional ringer with a narcissist, it's like pouring salt on a wound. It's dismissive, like saying their feelings don't matter. And you know what's worse? It's another way to make them doubt themselves. It's like adding insult to injury, making them feel weak and irrational for simply having emotions. Imagine feeling like you have to apologize for being human. It's enough to make anyone feel small and insignificant. Number 3, "you should be grateful." Ever noticed how some phrases can really sting, even if they seem harmless at first glance? Well, for those who've endured narcissistic abuse, certain words can reopen old wounds and trigger painful memories. Let's talk about "you should be grateful." Seems pretty innocuous, right? But for someone who's been through manipulation and mistreatment, it's like a punch to the gut. It's a sneaky tactic, making them feel like they owe something for enduring abuse. And what's worse, it's a way to make them accept mistreatment under the guise of gratitude. Imagine feeling like you have to say thank you for being hurt. It's twisted. It's like being stuck in a never-ending loop of owing something to someone who's already taken too much. It's enough to make anyone feel like they're drowning in a sea of guilt and obligation. And you know what's really insidious? It's how it minimizes their experiences, making them feel like they don't have the right to speak up or stand up for themselves. It's like their pain doesn't even matter, as long as they're seen as grateful for whatever morsels of kindness they're thrown. But here's the thing, nobody should ever feel like they owe gratitude for mistreatment. It's not okay, and it's not their fault. And until they realize that, they'll continue to feel trapped in a cycle of guilt and obligation. Number 4, "you're overreacting." Ever noticed how certain words can feel like a punch in the gut for some people? Well, for survivors of narcissistic abuse, it's like walking through a field of emotional landmines. Take, for instance, the phrase, "you're overreacting." Seems harmless, right? But for someone who's been through the ringer with a narcissist, it's like a slap in the face. It's dismissive, like saying their feelings don't matter. And you know what's worse? It's a classic gaslighting tactic, making them question their own reality. Imagine feeling like you're losing your grip on what's real and what's not. It's enough to make anyone doubt themselves. Number 5, "you're just like him or her." Note, the person they are referring to is the narcissist person. This is triggering, right? Comment down below if you agree. Have you ever had someone say something that felt like a slap in the face? Well, for those who faced narcissistic abuse, specific phrases can feel like reopening old wounds. Like, "you're just like him or her." Think about it. You've already been through hell with a narcissist, and now someone's comparing you to them. It's like pouring salt on an open wound. And you know what's even worse? It's not just hurtful, it's manipulative. It's a way to make you feel like you're to blame for the abuse you endured. Imagine feeling like you're carrying the weight of someone else's actions on your shoulders. It's suffocating. And the worst part, it's how it makes you doubt yourself, like maybe you really are just as bad as they say. But let me tell you something. You're not. You're strong and you're brave and you deserve better. So don't let anyone make you feel like you're anything less than excellent. Number 6, I never said that. Have you ever had someone tell you something that made you doubt your own memory? Well, for those who face narcissistic abuse, it's like living in a world where the truth is constantly being twisted. Take "I never said that" for example. Seems innocent enough, right? But for someone who's been manipulated and gaslighted, it's like being told your reality doesn't matter. It's a classic tactic used by narcissistic abusers to make you question your own sanity. Imagine feeling like you can't trust your own memories, like you're constantly walking on eggshells. It's enough to make anyone feel like they're losing their mind. And what's even worse, it's how it chips away at your sense of reality and self-trust. It's like they're trying to rewrite history right in front of your eyes. But here's the thing, your experiences are valid and your truth matters. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You're stronger than you think and you deserve to be heard. And lastly, you're making me do this. Have you ever felt like you were being blamed for someone else's actions? Well, for those who've been through narcissistic abuse, it's like being caught in a twisted game of blame shifting. Picture this. Someone says, "You're making me do this." Seems unfair, right? But for someone who's already been manipulated and mistreated, it's like adding insult to injury. It's a sneaky way for the abuser to avoid taking responsibility for their own harmful actions. Imagine feeling like you're the one to blame for everything that's gone wrong. It's suffocating. And what's even worse, it reinforces the idea that you're somehow responsible for the abuse you've endured. It's like they're trying to rewrite the rules of right and wrong, and you're left feeling like you're the villain in your own story. But here's the truth, you're not. You're the hero, and you deserve to be treated with kindness and respect. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. What are the other triggers that you have experienced? Comment it down below. I will read all your comments. Recognizing these triggers is crucial in fostering empathy and understanding for those navigating the complex aftermath of such abusive relationships. Providing validation and support can empower survivors to reclaim their voices and rebuild their lives free from the shackles of trauma. If you want to know more about narcissism-related topics, subscribe to this channel and comment down what topics you want us to talk about next. Until next time.